Oh, hey there, Outliers. Niiamah Sean here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. We have an incredible Outliers roundtable here with three awesome trailblazers who are going to share their experience and honestly just like the wisdom that they keep learning by by creating something in the way that they do. Right. So let's make sure we get a chance to get to know these trailblazers here today. Why don't we start off with you, Brandon? Would you letting us know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah. So my name is Brandon. I run a company called New Work Revolution. I have the crazy notion that people should enjoy their time at work. We spend a lot of our waking time there. I think people should enjoy what they do. And how I do that is I work as a consultant with leaders in three specific areas. I help them with purpose, helping them identify what their game is. The second one is process, helping them understand how they want to play that game. And the third one is performance, helping them look to am I winning and how can I accelerate my success? So that's me in a nutshell.
Brandon, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you also for taking the time to figure out how to distill what you do in this way. I've had experiences with you. Outliers, you might remember him from a former podcast episode. Like there's a lot to you. I'm glad that you've been able to bring that out here. Glad to have you
Yeah.
here. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, Amanda, let's get to know you. Mind letting us know more about you and the game that you're playing?
Yes, I'm Amanda. So happy to be here. For 25 years, I would say I do soul-led work. I have a school where I train and certify people in feng shui and working with the land. I lead retreats all over the world. And really my work is helping people really come home to themselves, live from their heart, connection with the land and, their connection to source. And I do that through classes and retreats and all sorts.
That's fantastic. I'm glad that you're here. I also I like you've been doing this for 25 years. I generally whenever I have someone who was doing this stuff before it was cool, and I've used cool in quotes there. I recognize the path that you had to walk to make this come to life is actually quite phenomenal. And I think that yeah, I get excited to see how your experience and wisdom comes into the play on this. Thank you, Amanda. All
Thank you.
right. Kennedy, welcome back, Kennedy. Why don't you let
Thank
Outliers know more
you.
about you and the game you're currently playing?
Thank you. I'm Kennedy. Right now, I'm consultant into self-development and visionary performance with a strategic mindset. Immediately after after my medical school, while following family business and keeping up with my vision, I've been growing on the skills for the consulting and you know growing on from what you have from within to share with everything you you really have to realize it also. Yeah, that's mostly to what I'm doing right now.
I'm glad that you're here, Kennedy. Let's go ahead and play. Y'all, there's something that's been playing on my heart recently. I just got back from a family trip. My wife took a vacation. I actually was working remotely. I missed the memo in that there of what was actually happening there. But it did give some time to take some time away from the day to day and look at things from a different perspective. And what's really been playing for me is this idea of freedom, and how freedom continues to work in business and how freedom continues to drive in business for you all. And so I'm really curious here, and this in particular, I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of um, how y'all have built your businesses to actually support you having more freedom. And I think I'll start with that as the initial question, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. Amanda, I am drawn to you. If you don't mind, would you mind getting us started with something in this conversation? And then everyone else, just speak when you want. I'm not gonna call anyone.
I would love to. Freedom is such a huge piece for me. And I mean, that's the work that I help people feel free within their emotional body, express themselves, speak their truth. So My whole business structure is pretty much set up that way. So I live where I want to live. I have a sacred mountain behind me, the forest, sacred wells, but yet I work with clients all over the world. I just had a client in Dubai, Australia, America, Canada. I mean, all in this one day, you know? And I feel so blessed. So for example, I'm just about to lead a retreat in America. I just led one in Greece earlier on. So I get callings to certain places. And of course, they're beautiful, amazing places. And then all the people that I love coming together and I lead a retreat, we go to sacred sites and get to immerse ourselves in the sacredness of the land there. So, and a lot of the teaching that I do is online. So I could be on retreat in Greece or in America or somewhere in Europe, and I can still also do my online classes as well. So I feel like I have a lot of autonomy, a lot of freedom, um, and really like I love to stay in my, I think they call it like the genius zone, right? So the work that I do completely fulfills me. I don't actually feel like I work a day in my life because, hey, I get to hang out with you guys. We get to chat about what brings us alive, like in our work. So, yeah, so I feel like I've got a lot of freedom. And I really am very clear, like I don't create or co-create or collaborate in anything that I don't get a full yes on. So I'm also really big in um like I like to lead a conscious business, which really means being mindful daily, weekly, checking in is the work that I'm doing in alignment, yeah, or the clients that I'm working with in alignment, am I actually making a difference? And so that's something that I like to be really, really mindful about.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I've thought a lot about freedom, and I think a lot of people who start a business because they don't want to be constrained. I worked in the corporate world for almost a decade. I hated sitting in front of a computer in a cubicle all day, every day. I hated it. And also, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, we don't like to be told what to do. So I think for me, I really struggled with that. But that's not really why I went into entrepreneurship. In fact, my old podcast used to be called Growth and Freedom. And, it was this idea that we can grow while also simultaneously creating freedom. But I've had to think a lot about freedom over the years and what that means to me and how I manage some of the constraints that exist, right? Like I'm never totally free. I have four daughters. They're teenagers, young adults. I'm married. I have a house. I have dogs. Just life in general has constraints that now we have to work within, and we make choices around what constraints that we have. And in work, I think about productive constraints, things like having a deadline, things like creating a space where I can be productive when I'm working on a project, or saying no to a request and having boundaries. All those things are good. And I think sometimes people take freedom to the level of, I want to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, at all times. But what we notice about freedom is that if we have such a wide playing field to be free, then for a lot of people, it's paralyzing. We shut down. And so I used to be a jazz musician. I played jazz music for a long time. And, jazz is one of those things where you have levels of improvisation, but you also have constraints in the form of chords, rhythms, different things that you can do within that. And I try to operate freely within constraints that I have, either constraints that I choose or sometimes constraints that are chosen for me, but to try to operate with choice as much as I can within those constraints so that I'm not resentful, angry, all those kinds of things about what the world might be doing to me, or the choices that I've made about what I'm doing or how I'm using my time. So freedom to me, I mean, there's just so much about that in some ways almost feels contradictory in some spaces in my mind, but definitely a topic that I think entrepreneurs love to explore for sure.
So, okay, for me, I really feel, especially as Amanda said about the retreat, it's so special to see that the freedom also begins from the spirituality, which most we may really ignore and want to increase most of our psychology or intellect or maybe increasing just the talents without having the time to check in. I mean, freedom for me in the world of an entrepreneur after medical school, it was so real how much in the whole world there's not just health to death. Like it was, it's real how much freedom can really be helpful to manage your inner world, your real time that goes, a real lifetime passes and never finishes, but it never comes back to repeat itself. Like I really appreciate the freedom a human to be human for me is luxury. It's luxury in a sense of comfort and not a lot of things that we can gain, but in the innocently we can really attain. And it comes with the time that you can desire for yourself to each of those other dreams and a lot of other more things that you can be more conscious to be more confident while moving. So for me, freedom is really what a human has to be more conscious of, but how to use it, not really to use it, but how to keep it on. Yeah, that's so freedom really is. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so freedom is really good for the entrepreneur and all these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm giving a
But
little bit of space here. I give a little bit of space here, just to like because there's a couple different things that came up, and like I actually got a little bit excited, right? Because one, we brought in the tension. You brought in the tension. Brandon was almost like you're like, I see freedom, but I kind of heard it as like I see freedom as like the ability to make choices here. That's kind of what I heard here. It's like we have constraint, and it's cool. I think this is really important. I think like that I'm an Enneagram 7. If for any of you that know what that means out there, and
Yeah.
so like I
I'm an
love.
8, wing
Okay.
7.
So like I'm like more is more, y'all. They're like less is more. I'm like, but it's like literally in the words, like more. More is more. Like that's just how it is.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but there's this component here of what I was feeling was like this balance of um constraints and boundaries. And it was really interesting, Amanda, when you said like you keep checking in with yourself about when you do co-creations, when you do collaborations, so on and so forth. And even on your business itself, you're like, I'm looking for like full yeses. Right. And what was really cool about that is I'm like, oh, that means that you probably give a whole lot of no's, you know? And so I'm actually really interested here if y'all could share on either one of these sides because the opposite is also true. Like one of the most like let's go with one of either the most exciting or most difficult full yeses, or if you're like if you look at things more like hey like strong no's. I think I'm okay with either one of them. But if you mind sharing something in your world right now that other people might have thought this was wonderful, this was great, why wouldn't you say yes to it, but you knew it was out of alignment for you or out of like across the boundary for you, however you look at it here to be able to exercise the freedom that you have. All right, would y'all mind sharing a little bit about that and we'll see
Yeah,
where it takes away. Yeah, Amanda.
to start because I feel like, I mean, and I'm more ethereal when I talk about my work, right? Because um, I I channel a lot of guidance for what I'm meant to do and where I'm meant to go. And then I also like really, really listen to my clients. So 25 years ago when I started, I was just feng shui consulting. I was going to people's homes and businesses. I've feng shui DreamWorks. I've worked with Hyundai Cars, bringing feng shui into the cars. I've worked with Bank of America, Wachovia Bank, like brought feng shui into all these businesses. And I was just consulting. And then people used to come to me like, how do you find out how to do this? And I was like, oh, well, here's some schools I might suggest, here's some books. And I would send them all out, like, go look at all these others. And about 20 years ago, about 4 people I spoke to at once all came back to me, said, we checked out the schools, we read the books, but we want to learn from you. And I was like, I don't teach it, I just consult. And they're like, yeah, but we want to learn from you. So I kind of, I probably do business really differently, but I work backwards kind of. So, and I listen to, and people come to me with requests all the time. And I was like, yeah, maybe I could teach this, why not? So basically how I work kind of backwards is I put a date 6 months from there to teach my first feng shui master certification is what I call it. And I spent the next 6 months creating the program and already like put it out there and people signed up. I got a full class. And so then here I am 20 years later, it's online. Hence, I used to live in America, I live in Ireland now, but I was still like to work with the same clients. So then the same thing, retreats started happening. People were like, when are you going to start taking us around Ireland? And I was like, to all the spiritual sites. And I was like, oh, I don't do that. People are like, no, when are you taking us? So I sit with these requests and I go, oh, how would that feel? Is that something I want to do? Is that like, and I get requests that I do say no to. And I was like, okay. And here I am 20 years later leading retreats around Ireland. So a lot of the time I listen to what my clients are asking because what they want to do is they want like kind of a funnel, like, okay, what are you going to do with us next? We've taken your training and now we've gone on your retreat. What else is next? And so that's really how things have evolved. And a lot of my clients, they've been working with me 15 years, 10 years, some of them the whole 20 years. Um, and so it's for me, it's a matter of really listening and then tuning in. Does that resonate? And is that something I want to continue doing?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I could almost say, um, and I admire Amanda's approach, and I wish I did it
Yeah, me
more.
too.
I don't
Uh,
know. I don't know if it's the
Me
best
too.
approach.
and
Well,
I would almost confess to being like the anti Amanda, not because I'm
Yeah.
against what she's saying, but unfortunately, as an extrovert, I think with my words. And I tend to make commitments that later, I ask myself, why did I say yes to this? Or why did I do this? Or, and part of that is being an extrovert, but part of it is also, it's also my relation to the world in terms of what saying no might say about me, right? So I've had to do some work on that. And so, I find a lot of times that I trial and error life where I say yes to something, I try it, and then I go back later and what I maybe should have done earlier is think about it a little bit more. But then I do reflect on it after I've done it and realize, okay, I'm never doing that again, or oh, I like that, I'll do it again, and go through, that process. But I do think, I really there's a real tension for me personally around this idea of best practices and listening to what other people have to say in terms of shortcuts and pathways and patterns, which I think are great, but also doing things that I know are more authentic to me, whether it be how I deliver a talk, how I coach a client, all those different things. So, there's lots of things where I will do something where people are like, "Oh, you're crazy to do that." For instance, in marketing, we're told, make it as easy for someone to buy as possible. Well, in my practice, I actually make it hard for people to buy. And the reason for that is number one, I want to know, do you really want to do this work? And number two, I want to know, how is it to work with you? And I want to make sure that by the time we get to a place where a buying decision could be made, that both of us feel pretty good about where we're at. So, what does that mean? As a coach and a consultant, I actually let people try before they buy. And when I started doing that, I remember I had a guy rip me in a mastermind group, saying how stupid that was. But for me, what it did is it created a calendar that I can look at and never be sad about who's on it. And I can't say that that's always been the case in my career. So I think for me, one of those constraints is just saying no to taking money from someone who wants to do some work, or at least says they do, when that relationship may not be something that I enjoy or that even the client enjoys as a result of that. So I do love the idea of being more thoughtful and deliberate. And I would say that that's something I'm always trying to be better at, but I have a long way to go.
you know,
Yeah. Uh,
Kennedy, if you don't mind, before I come in here, I want to kind of bring in something here because there's
yeah.
a part of me that's hearing this, and it feels like y'all are both doing the same thing, but in different ways,
Mm.
like and like. it feels like there's an activeness to what you're saying, Brandon, where you're like, I need to actually be in conversation with you. I need to see what you're doing, so on and so forth. And Amanda, there's like I'm giving myself space. I'm gonna let this channel. I'm gonna let people come in and ask here, but there's still. I guess I think there's a part of me that feels like I want a little bit of both of your worlds. So I'm like synergizing it in my mind. Um, Yet my experience of it is like, oh, we need like you're given space, you're finding ways to give yourself space before committing into it. Like, want to just toss that in there? Like, how real does that seem? Did Niiamah just like make a connection that doesn't actually exist? Really curious there. Then Kennedy, I'd love to. We'll just keep blowing up from there. But do any of y'all have a thought on that?
Yeah, I would say about the years, uh, if someone already has a skill or a competent or a talent, even if he doesn't know, or he will know, as much as the moment, the situation, and time goes on, like me in medical school already, I was already consulting, like even if it was not medically, just like socially, even if it was financially, again, but so I feel like if the yes or the no question you're talking, if something was always you don't develop what you don't know. So I think with time it's something that just grows. So I just feel
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so it evolves and then grows over
Yeah.
time for you, Kennedy. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally get what you're saying, though. I mean, yeah, I do like to kind of, experience something and then kind of reflect on how that experience is. But I think the challenge that I have sometimes is, um, I feel like my mindset is always to jump into a burning building and save a kitten or a child or something like that. Not because I'm like a super good person, but I feel like I'm a very like, let's solve a problem and let's do it now. But not everything is an emergency, and so sometimes I think I've had to practice slowing down and saying, okay, does this need an answer right now? Do I need to react to whatever problem I'm seeing right now to fix? And the irony about this is I'm a recovering fixer, and then I live a life as a coach where the last thing I want to do is fix. Right. I want to empower so other people do it. So there's this tension of here's this thing I suck at, but now I've made a whole life profession doing in terms of helping people empower them to kind of work through a situation and help help themselves in a situation versus me trying to just go in there and save the day.
Yeah, I think is such a powerful thing to just understand how much you can use what with time you have been growing. Like I said, you don't develop what you don't know. And the vision of what you have, the your brain cannot see what your eyes have not seen somehow. So I think with time, some yes, some no. It may be some things that you may be unconscious or you may be conscious, but it's deep if you have a long vision, if you have a long path, if you have to embody some type of we may use some word as virtues, but it's something that we really have to live to really know it. So I sometimes I understand, I get so like that's real. Yeah. Yeah, but it's fine on Brandon's part.
Man, is there anything you want to bring into this here before we move
No,
on?
I think that was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go on to something else, but I'm also realizing that this is still playing on me. So before I go on to the next,
One,
um,
one,
so I think there's actually there's two things. One, Amanda, I want to say thank you to you, um, because are you familiar with human design? You all, there you go.
I don't know a ton about it, but I am familiar. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm very much in the same category. But and so I'll meet people and For outliers, if you haven't, I don't actually want to define human design here specifically, but it is a way of, I don't know the right way of saying it, but let's put it in the world of like being able to know yourself through the assessments and things that come along with it. But there's people who said like I have to wait for the invitation. I'm a projector and I have to wait for the invitation, and that's not my style. Like my thing is like I have guttural yeses and nos. And so as you were speaking, Amanda, I was like, oh, this is what it looks like. Like it felt to me that you were creating, you kept channeling, and then when the invitations came for something, you waited until that came in, and then you checked in on that to see like, hey, is this actually where I should be growing, or what feels like it's coming out of that? It's really fascinating to me because I've heard it, but I feel like you just like naturally like brought it out to life. So I want to say thank you because I actually now have deeper empathy and deeper like a deeper model of like, oh, this is what it could look like.
Mm, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And doesn't that really come back to freedom, like freedom to co-create, to create when something moves through us, something moves us. I mean, and most of the work that I teach, because I have a year-long program called Divine Woman Awakening, and it's really about working through the muck, like the inner child stuff, the inner teenage, the ancestral trauma, like all the different parts. And really, that whole course was created for me in my healing journey when I came through my divorce 6 years ago. And what happens for me is most of the time, how I heal or how I evolve or how I transcend in some way, then I just share those gifts and teach that. And so there, for me, there isn't like this is the freedom piece. There isn't really a difference between my day-to-day life and my work. Like my work is soul led. Like I teach about the Celtic wheel, I live by it. I teach about feng shui, I live by it. I teach, I have a course on, I channel light language. And I do that every day. I go to sacred sites. What I do in my free time, sacred sites. I go out in nature. What do I do in retreats? I take people. So there's not like I'm going and I'm baking cakes for a living, but then I go off and I play golf. Actually, what I do is what I do. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, my work is it's very and it's not for everybody, and a way of creating of going, okay, I'm gonna sell this course now for in 6 months and I'm going to spend the next 6 months creating it. That might drive somebody crazy operating that way. Some people need to know the course is completely done and ready, it's got a bow on it, and now I'll put it for sale. But for me, I'm like, I get this idea, I get this creation, I put it out there, and then I'm just excited to let it flow through.
Yeah, I love that. We used to call that win then play, and the idea is, we put the concepts out there, and then if people want it, then we build behind that, right? And I think so many people do it the other way. They build something, they spend all this time doing it, they put it out into the market, no one wants it, and then they're like, oh, no one wanted my thing. So I love that way of creating, even though it seems chaotic to some people. To me, it just feels like I'm seeing what people really resonate with. Just, this might be a good idea in my head, but it's never a good idea until other people raise their hand and say, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
After I feel if you really have if you are awake, if you if you get more conscious, is to keep helping much more people to be also more conscious more. If you realize how to be confident, you have the desire. If even if you put it out there and that's how they come to connect, I feel like I think that even for me, it's real. As much as you keep growing, I think as much as you keep growing, as much as you keep realizing how much you as a human per se get, can be, you don't stop to transmit, you don't stop to even as least as possible from the person who wants to catch. I don't know if it be the vision, it may be the inspiration. So I think it's so great to know how to mix up this type of things. Money may come, that's a fact, because the human has all this. capacity, but it's really great to see how much you can get more connected, more channeling before. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, that's it.
Mm. Yeah.
Appreciative of all of y'all as we're having this
I
conversation.
mean,
Brendan, is there something you wanted to say just now?
No.
Okay. I appreciate you all as we're having this conversation because there's something fun and also like implicit in it, right? Because the reason I invite different people onto this space is to really highlight like there is no real way to do this, you know? And so man, I like what earlier you're like, I might be doing it backwards. I was like, there's no way. There's no and what I love about this that I think there was a lot of time I was looking for permission, someone else to be able to build my thing in a way that would be mine. I'm like, I can't see like what you're talking about isn't how I would do it. And I spent years going down other people's paths only to eventually end up sometimes it can be really frustrating, I'll be honest. But to end up in more or less the same place, maybe just like three or four different levels. I describe it not as walking around in circles, but almost like a spiral staircase where I'm like trying to get to the top and I'm like, I'm still in this same plane here. So I like and I get that you all have continued to evolve in your businesses over time and in your impact over time. I think one of the things that's playing out for me as we're talking is I'm very curious about how you bring other people on or like yeah, I'm like the thing about it is like how do you extend yourself? And you might be like, hey, look, I'm the person that's behind my business and that's it. But I'm very curious about like bringing on other people to work with you. How do you continue to stay in alignment with yourself through that? And then if you like leverage any systems or anything like that, like how do y'all essentially build in that way. Like Amanda, I'm thinking about you. Where you're like, I have retreats all over. I have sacred spaces all over here. I'm like, oh, I'm curious about how you've been able to leverage that while continuing to be in alignment with how you like to flow and operate in the world. Does
Yeah.
that question make sense at all? By the way,
Well, I'm not totally clear on your question.
yeah.
So are you talking about people that you collaborate with or what?
um,
So I'm clear.
I'll ask this question in two parts, right? So the first part here is like, do y'all have team that you work with, as in like other people who like support you on like on a regular basis, right? So I think that's part one. And then the second part here is it is really around um being in relation with other people to get things done. So it might be partnership, it might be team in particular, but I'm wondering how you all are able to create what you create when it goes beyond just you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, number one, the work that I have to do, I have to feel like I'm making a difference. It needs to be of service, right? And so when people ask, I know it's of service. And then I'm all heart and all passion. So like I create from that space. And if it's not authentic and it's not from the soul, like I just can't do it. You know what I mean? And so the passion comes through in all the work. I have two incredibly beautiful, beautiful, amazing women that work with me, and they are completely in alignment. Like they get it, they get it. I have dyslexia, I have ADHD, and I've come so far back. Uh, Back in the 80s when I was in school, it wasn't known of. So I had a really hard time in school because my dyslexia was quite severe. And now I've written like 500-page manuals and I write blogs and, create all these courses. But like, the way I talked about earlier on, where we have our genius zone and the thing that we're passionate about, the part that we love. So I know, okay, I know what I'm good at. I know what I love to do. And then I have these two other amazing, amazing women that are so brilliant and they so get it. And we're such a succinct, cohesive like team. And there's a couple other people that drop in and help as well. But these two women, like one of the ladies that helped me when I want to I write a lot of articles, magazines and stuff. I will write them, but I can just transmute a whole message to her and she can create that. So I think having people on our team that are better at things than we are is just a huge thing. I have another woman that helps edit all the videos and all the websites up, and she's just a creative genius. So I can come to her with my ideas, and then all of a sudden she's created something amazing. So like those collaborations, and these women also have their freedom and they work the hours that work for them, and we're in different parts of the world. And then I have people that I collaborate with, and I go through phases where, okay, I just need to do all these projects and create and do these retreats by myself. And now I'm in a real collaborative phase. And it's really fun. And we open each other up to new ideas, new audiences. Um, and so and this year that we're in, it's a 9 year, which is all about, from numerology standpoint, a very powerful collaboration year. So I'm riding that wave very much so. So I don't know if I even answered your question. I hope so, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, connect to you was talking about connection and how we get more of fans connect, something like that. It's things that Niiamah like that. So
I'm curious about how you, less about like how you get more clients, but how do you like run your business? How do you connect and build with
mm,
other people
okay.
from that standpoint? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I first I think is from the part of a vision, you know how you grow and you take in whatever for life and you remove what for life. And you know how you follow the steps and how you want to move. So I think from there, you know how you do what you have to do, maybe starting from now or starting from today or whenever, and with whom you know you have to recognize easily doesn't, and from there, I mean, many things grows from the list. And it comes from how Amanda said you may be having your website to grow this, and you get to it to see this stranger is a web developer and that. And I mean, I feel the connect, be it the client or be it who you work with, or how you grow from you to your business and your businesses is more of what you know you have and what you know you and know how and what you know how you are going to grow it. And that takes that distance period to know with whom to know with. I think for me it's such of a visionary thing. And now from there you know how to be more cautious of how to climb the ladder and something like that. I mean I feel something like that. I feel something.
Can I follow up on that real quick here, Kennedy? When the question I have here is right now, I'm hearing it from like a third person perspective, so I'm having a harder time like grasping into this. Can you take what you just said here and like help us see like how have you applied it? How does this work directly for you in something like a vision that you've had or something like that? Can you help us with that?
Honestly, with me, like you remember we used to talk far way before. Um it's been 4 or 5 years. I came off of medical school. I'm still growing up my consulting skill and a little bit more of how my consulting competence and what that will grow together with my podcast. So what I mean is, even before this, like before, I never knew I could do podcasting. I never knew I could reach to some level capacity of things, but I already you remember to have a vision to realize in 17 years. And it may go way more about that, above that. So like a lot of people may have already prepared your future. Like they already know at this stage is this. A lot of things may happen that you may not prepare. You don't know about that. But there's some things you know how you include for life, and there's some things you know how you have to remove for life because you have something to get in here. And if you have to get in here, you know to change it, nobody will come and hurry you up. But if you show how, or if you show it is changed, like everybody will follow how it is done and how it can be done so well. So I think it's a long-term vision thing first. It may not be so close, it may be really that far. And it takes the period of character with the people you will grow with the clients you get on, and a lot of things like that for me. I think it's that way. I don't know if we catching it, Niiamah. I don't know, but
Well, I appreciate it. Like you brought it in. You made it more concrete for me. So I really enjoyed that. I appreciate that, Kennedy. We're about to start wrapping up this conversation, but I want to leave room for any other comments that want to be said on this and growing beyond each of you.
Yeah, I mean, just um, and I'll try to be quick about this.
You don't have to be quick.
I mean, I
You're
think
good.
we think about, collaborating or expansion, and I always think about the word integrity and how do I maintain integrity in relationships. When I have relationships that are going well, it's because integrity is present, which means that if I have an issue, we're going to talk about it. We've created agreements to create a container with which we agree to operate in, and we uphold those agreements throughout the relationship, or we make changes. And part of that container is things like, our mission, what are we trying to accomplish? What are our values? What do we care about? And then trying to align with people who are there. But when I've had relationships that don't work out, it's usually because I've allowed someone else to be out of integrity, or I myself have been out of integrity in that relationship. And so, I think we can stay true to who we are, provided that we're willing to do the hard work of maintaining integrity in the decisions that we make and the relationships that we have. And, the more I can do that, the better I feel about the people I'm collaborating with and the things that I'm doing. But if I struggle with that, then it's usually because I've let scarcity or something else get in the way of me making a decision that I know is a better long-term decision, right? So I always think about this idea of stepping over a dollar to pick up a dime, and sometimes I can be guilty of that.
Y'all have been great. I've enjoyed this conversation tremendously. What we're gonna do to wrap up here, I'm gonna like you're so good that I'm gonna give an extra question here. So the question I want to give to you all is the extra one. Um, this one is here to think about any outlier or trailblazer who you that like it's just your person, right? So this one here, my ask is like not the I've been asked this question before, but my ask is not to help all outliers and trailblazers. There's a reason why you all are here, and it's because there's at least one person out here whose life is specifically being changed because you are here. And my ask is if you had a message to that one person, and I call it an outsight from that you want to share to that person, what would that outsight be? And usually I don't give us that chance, but I'm like y'all play. I like how you're doing it here. Would anyone want to share an outside here? Is anyone feeling called on the
Yeah,
floor?
well, I'm happy to go. For me, running a conscious business, I think everything in our life is a mirror of our internal landscape. So if something is going on externally, relationships, lack of sales, abundance, whatever is out of alignment, we have to go inwards. We can't deflect and blame. We have to go inwards and go, okay, just like Brandon was saying, where am I out of integrity? Where am I out of alignment? Where am I not speaking my truth? Where do I not have healthy enough boundaries? Where am I in that scarcity energy? So I'm going to go in, I'm going to do some work here and figure out what healing, what alignment, what I need to look at, what I need to sit with, what I need to release, what old stories, what old patterns, what is resurfacing, where am I pushing and forcing versus just aligning and really tapping into what is really in the highest good of all. And I really talk a lot about that divine union within ourselves, like our own divine feminine, our own divine masculine. So there has to be that nice balance of, right, the divine feminine's more like the intuitive, the listening, the being, the divine masculine's more like action, structure. So I really, look for that balance. And we started off the conversation with that, with freedom, right? So in order to have freedom, there needs to be a really beautiful balance of one, because you're always forcing and in structure and creation, like the other part, the listening part, the sitting with part, the more of that. So it's like I think a really nice balance. So I think it's always all an inside job. It's anything that's happened externally is just a reflection of how we're feeling internally. So my advice to anybody who's starting a business, running a business is like, do that work and keep the clearing work and keep checking in and in whatever form that is for you.
You
Thank
know,
you, Amanda. Thank you. Kennedy, is there something
Yeah,
you want to share?
yeah. I just want to top up real quick on Brandon and Amanda. It's heavy. I mean, the course is really heavy. I mean, it's really, really heavy. But if it is yours, learn how to build it. It's really heavy. I mean, the integrity, the work, follow up and all that. But if it's yours, you just have to carry it and know how to build it better. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Kennedy.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you. Yeah. I love the mirror analogy. I talk about that a lot. And so an outsight that I would have is that, um, be clear about who you want to be. And it doesn't mean that you're going to know exactly who you want to be tomorrow or today, but have that idea, right? That place to start from, and then understand that life is a practice, and I'm continually practicing the way that I want to be, with the hopes of evolving and growing and changing for the betterment of not only myself but also for other people, and to utilize the mirror, and in this case, the mirror being the external stimulus, right? So if I want better relationships in my life, but those are not present, then I have to ask myself, well, who am I being and what am I practicing that is reflecting back to me the results here? Or if it's financial results or whatever the result is, to constantly be evaluating and looking at that. And that's something I've had to learn over the years that, I think has made a tremendous impact on my life.
Well, I'm appreciative of all of you. The way that we end this conversation here is that we all share two things. We end it with, you shared your outside outliers have gotten what they're here for. Outliers, if there's anything that really touched your heart, or there's someone in your world that you think would really benefit from this, my ask is that you share this episode with that individual with intention. We call it one person, one conversation at a time. But rather than just like having a, go ahead, share it out with your world. I'm happy about that. But if you can let one person know that this conversation was intentionally crafted for them, I think that's where like the real impact of this all really comes down to. That would mean the world to me. Right. So we're gonna wrap up here. The way we're gonna do it here is that I'm gonna go around to each of you if you can share your the way that outliers can go deeper down the journey with you, and then the biggest insight that you yourself are taking from this conversation, right? So what's a takeaway that you have as a result of being here, right? And if you don't have any, that's totally fine too, right? I feel like there's been like a natural order of things, so I'll go with Amanda, then Brandon, then Kennedy,
Sorry.
and we'll end with that. All right. Amanda, would you mind getting us started? How can we go deeper down the journey with you?
Well, my website's at the internationalfengshuischool.com, and then my personal website with events and classes and everything is joinamandasophia.com. And I've loved this conversation. I love that, um, just hearing everybody's different perspectives and how we're all curious. And then how we, like, I think you kind of said it, like, some of the times we're all kind of giving the same answer, but we got slightly different ways of getting there. So there's lots more than one road, and it's not just like have to post 5 times a day on social media. It's like if that resonates with you, do it. If it doesn't, don't. Just like, so I love that. It's like we're all being authentic to our path, and then don't people resonate with somebody who's being authentic, who is being true to who they are? I mean, that's it. So thank you all. I learned so much from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, I love that. Um, oh man, I mean, I think for me, okay, so newworkrevolution.com is where I was just gonna skip that part. Um, newworkrevolution.com, you could go there. You can sign up for a free master class. So you can take a little deeper dive onto how I think and what I do there. You can book a call. There's a lot of different things you can do there. Download some free tools. So yeah, go check it out. Would love to talk with you if you want to talk. And then, yeah, for me, it's this continued idea of just the idea of freedom, how to utilize freedom. I really spent time and thought about that more as we were having this conversation, and as the words, because that's how I think, were coming out of my mouth of, just what does freedom mean to me? What does it look like when I'm living free? and what's my next step in that. So I've really kind of thought more about that, and I'll spend some time pondering that, because I think what came up for me is that I think I want to think about that a little bit more and really examine where could I do some work in that area.
Yeah, yeah, to get me, you can be on my podcast, Fastest.Wheels, my website, callmewhat.com, and I'm more to with Brandon on the freedom part because so far from the beginning, like he said to now, we wrapping up on it. I'm sure even after this right now will be to like freedom, how much I like, how much I'm on it, but that helps entrepreneurs or every human to really get more to know himself and what to develop, because you don't just develop because you see others or how you see this friend or this person, because you develop what you're aware. So it's more to be conscious, to know to be more confident. It's fine. It's freedom.
I appreciate all of you. Like you, there's something in that question. It's the first time I've asked that question on this thing. I've had hundreds of these conversations, and I'm like, I think there's something really real. Y'all have been a great reflection for me to be like, oh, there's something I want here, and I need to go spend some time with that. So, thank you all deeply from the bottom of my heart here for playing the way that you play. Thank you for living out here, and I'm glad that our paths have crossed. Until the next time that we all talk here, remember to be you on purpose. Journey on.